My name is Lena Carter, and I swear I felt my whole world tilt the day my sister told me I wasn't aesthetic enough for her wedding. I remember standing in her doorway, clutching my bag like it could protect me. Grace looked me up and down and said, "Lena, you just don't fit the vibe." I froze and whispered, "What vibe?" even though I already knew inside me then. Grace sighed like I was exhausting her. "Soft beige," she said. "Minimal. Clean. You're more chaotic." I felt my chest tighten. "Chaotic how?" I asked. Madison laughed from the couch. Chloe covered her mouth like she was hiding a joke. Harper whispered, "It's obvious." I kept staring at Grace, hoping she'd take it back, but she just crossed her arms and said, "Don't make this emotional, Lena. It's just aesthetics." I tried to swallow the humiliation choking me. "I thought family mattered more than some theme," I said. My voice shook, and I hated that they heard it. Chloe leaned forward. "Grace works hard on her image. It's her day." Madison added, "You should be supportive." I whispered, "I always am." Grace rolled her eyes and said, "Then don't complicate things." Something inside me twisted so hard I almost stepped back. My mom was in the kitchen pretending she wasn't listening. I called out, "Mom," hoping she'd say something to stop this. She didn't even turn around. "Your sister just wants everything perfect," she said softly. My dad scrolled on his phone like nothing was happening. I felt like a ghost standing there. "Do I really ruin things that much?" I asked. Grace didn't hesitate. "Yes. At least visually." I could feel heat rising in my face. "Grace. I'm your sister," I whispered. She shrugged. "And you're dramatic." Madison smirked. Harper muttered, "Told you she'd take it personally." Chloe added, "It's better if she sits in the back anyway." I felt my hands shaking. "So what am I supposed to wear?" I asked. Grace said, "Beige. Loose. Simple. And no photos." Her words sliced me open. I tried to breathe, but my chest felt too tight. "Why am I never enough for you?" I asked. Grace groaned. "See? This is why. You always make things heavy." I stepped closer. "You humiliate me in front of everyone, and I'm the problem?" Chloe stood up. "Maybe don't be so sensitive." My mom finally walked by, touching my arm briefly before leaving again. It felt like pity, not support. I wanted to yell, cry, or just disappear. "Grace, I've done everything you ever wanted," I said. "I've changed myself so many times." She shrugged like it meant nothing. "Well, change again." Madison laughed under her breath. Harper whispered something about simple girls needing simple roles. I felt my throat burn. "You're hurting me," I said quietly. Grace replied, "Stop acting like a victim. It's just a wedding." I grabbed my bag, trying not to break down in front of them. "Okay," I said. "If that's how you see me, fine." Grace rolled her eyes. "Don't make this dramatic." I whispered, "You already did." Chloe muttered, "She's so emotional." Madison added, "Just go, Lena." My dad finally looked up, only to say, "Don't start anything." I felt something inside me shatter at his words. I walked out their door without looking back. As soon as I reached my car, tears blurred everything. I kept hearing her voice saying I didn't fit, like I was some stain on her perfect life. I pressed my forehead to the steering wheel and whispered, "Why isn't being me ever enough?" My phone buzzed, but I didn't check it. I couldn't. Not after that humiliation. That night I cried until my pillow was soaked. I felt something breaking and rebuilding at the same time. I whispered, "I'm done begging for her love." My chest hurt, but the words felt true. I didn't know what would happen next. I only knew this moment wasn't the end of me. It was the beginning of something I had never allowed myself to feel before: anger, strength, and a small spark of courage. I knew I would rise again, whoever dared to stop me. ChatGPT said. I couldn't stop replaying Grace's voice saying I'd ruin her pictures. The words followed me everywhere like some echo I couldn't escape. I avoided family calls because I couldn't trust my own voice. Every time my phone lit up, my stomach twisted with dread. Then the wedding rules arrived like a slap I should have expected. Grace wrote that I couldn't wear colors, jewelry, or any makeup. She added that I needed to be simple, quiet, and invisible. I stared at the list and whispered, "So I'm not allowed to exist." I sent the list to Zoe, hoping she'd tell me I was imagining everything. Instead she grabbed my hands and said, "Lena, this is abuse." I laughed at first, but it came out broken and shaky. "She's just stressed," I said, though I didn't believe it anymore. Zoe squeezed my fingers and whispered, "She wants control, not peace." Hearing that made something in me twist like a knot I'd ignored. I felt the knot tighten until it hurt to breathe deeply. For days I cried every night, barely eating, barely sleeping, barely functioning. Zoe kept calling, asking, "Do you want me to come over?" I always said no because I didn't want anyone seeing me like that. One night she texted, "You don't deserve this," and I broke again. I grabbed my journal and wrote until my hands cramped badly. I wrote things like, "Why am I never enough, and what did I do?" My tears smeared the ink until the pages looked bruised and swollen. I kept whispering, "Just skip the wedding," but fear always answered first. The fear said Grace would hate me forever, and my family would too. I didn't know how to choose myself without losing everyone I loved. But everything changed when I opened the old box under my bed. Inside was a picture of Grace holding my hand when we were kids. Her smile in that picture was soft, warm, and full of love. I traced her face and whispered, "Where did you go, Gracie?" The memory felt like a spark burning through everything she'd said recently. It reminded me that she wasn't born cruel, but she had chosen cruelty. I wiped my eyes and murmured, "I can't keep letting her break me." Zoe called again and said, "Lena, I'm coming over. Don't argue." When she walked in, she hugged me so tightly I almost collapsed. I sobbed, "I don't know what to do anymore," against her shoulder. She said, "You choose yourself, even if she hates it." I whispered, "I'm scared," and she answered, "Be scared and do it anyway." Those words settled inside me like a seed finally ready to grow. I looked at the picture again and felt something fierce rising slowly. I murmured, "If she wants me invisible, I need to stop disappearing." Zoe whispered, "Good. That's the girl I know," and kissed my forehead. For the first time in weeks, I felt steady enough to breathe fully. I whispered, "I'll go to the wedding," though my heart pounded loudly. Zoe smiled and said, "Then you'll go as yourself, not her shadow." I nodded and felt the spark turn into a flame I finally welcomed. I whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me, Zoe." She held my hand and said, "I'll stay until you're okay." I breathed out slowly, letting her warmth remind me I wasn't alone. The fear was still there, but it wasn't louder than my hope. I looked at the list again and said, "I'm done obeying cruelty." In that moment, I finally chose myself. I stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "I'm really doing this, aren't I?" The emerald silk dress rested against my skin like something alive. Zoe grinned behind me and said, "You're not just doing it. You're reclaiming oxygen." I laughed nervously. "Grace is going to explode." Zoe shrugged. "Let her. Maybe she needs the exercise." I smoothed the fabric and murmured, "I don't want to fight her." Zoe stepped closer. "You're not fighting her. You're choosing you." I breathed out slowly. "Then help me keep choosing." She touched my shoulder. "Always." While she curled my hair, she said, "Say it again." I whispered, "I belong to myself." She nudged me. "Louder." I said it again, stronger. She smiled. "Good. Now walk into that wedding like the world is lucky you exist." The drive to the venue made my stomach twist. I kept whispering, "It's just family," but Zoe kept answering, "It's just fear." When we parked, I stared at the entrance and said, "I don't think I can move." She reached for my hand. "Then take one step for me." I stepped inside. Conversations froze. People turned. A few gasped. Someone whispered, "Is that Lena?" Another said, "She looks incredible." My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear anything else. Then I saw Grace. She stood near the archway in her lace gown, smiling at someone until her eyes landed on me. Her smile died instantly. She walked toward me with stiff, fast steps. "What are you wearing?" she hissed. I forced a steady breath. "A dress." This isn't beige, she snapped. No, I said. It isn't. Her bridesmaids drifted behind her like startled shadows. Madison stared at me and muttered, she's way overdressed. Chloe whispered, Grace is going to kill her. Harper leaned in and said, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? I said, I'm just here. Grace grabbed my arm and pulled me aside. You're ruining my aesthetic. I'm not here for your pictures, I said. I'm here because I'm your sister. You're making everything about you, she hissed. No, I whispered. You did that when you told me to disappear. She blinked like she didn't expect that answer. You're embarrassing me. I felt something rising inside me, steady, grounded. If your wedding falls apart because your sister wore a green dress, maybe the problem isn't me. Her mouth fell open. How dare you talk to me like that? I said, how dare you treat me like I don't matter? People nearby had turned to watch. I heard an aunt whisper, why is Grace yelling? Another voice said, Lena looks fine. She looks beautiful. Grace's face tightened when she heard that. My mom hurried over. Girls, please, she muttered. Not here. I looked at her and said, Mom, she banned me from wearing color. Mom's eyes widened slightly. Grace, did you really? Grace snapped, Mom, stay out of it. My dad stepped forward. What's happening? He asked, looking back and forth between us. Grace pointed at me like I was a spilled drink. She showed up like this on purpose. Dad sighed. She looks normal. Grace's jaw clenched. She stands out. I said quietly, standing out isn't a crime. Zoe appeared at my side like she had been waiting for the right moment. Is there a problem? She asked. Grace glared at her. Who invited you? I did, I said. I needed support. Grace scoffed. You always need something. Zoe stepped closer. She needed kindness. You gave her rules. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Grace turned bright red. Mind your business. It became my business, Zoe said, when she cried for days because of you. Everyone went silent. Even the music paused between songs. Grace stuttered, she's exaggerating. She's always dramatic. I whispered, I'm done being small for you. Grace opened her mouth, but no words came out. People stared at her now, not me. Her perfect image cracked right in front of them. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared. I felt taller, steadier, anchored. I finally belonged to myself. And Grace knew it. Grace cornered me the second I stepped into the hallway. You stole my spotlight, she screamed, her voice echoing so loudly I felt the walls shake. I whispered, I didn't steal anything. She jabbed her finger toward my chest. You walked in like some emerald peacock knowing everyone would stare. I kept my voice steady. People stared because you yelled. She gasped like I slapped her. You think you're innocent. I think I'm allowed to exist, I said. That dress wasn't approved, she shrieked. I didn't need approval, I replied. Not anymore. Before she could spit another insult, Ethan walked up behind her. Grace, what's going on? He asked. Grace spun toward him. She ruined everything. She ignored my rules. Ethan looked at me, then at her. Rules? What rules? The appearance rules, she snapped. She was supposed to be simple, minimal, neutral. You banned her from wearing makeup, he asked, shocked. She's too emotional, Grace said quickly. She brings drama. I whispered, you've been calling me emotional my whole life just to shut me up. Ethan frowned. Grace, why would you control her outfit? She's your sister. Grace threw her hands up. Because she ruins pictures with her colors. A voice cut through the hallway. Enough, Grace. Aunt Sarah walked over with fire in her eyes. You're embarrassing yourself. Grace stammered, Aunt Sarah, stay out of. No, Sarah said firmly. I watched you tear her down all afternoon. Grace turned red. You don't understand what I deal with. You deal with a sister who loves you, Sarah said. And you treat her like she's disposable. My throat tightened. Thank you, I whispered. Sarah squeezed my hands. You didn't deserve any of this. Mom appeared next, wringing her hands. Girls, please. I looked at her and said, Mom, It's been like this forever. Mom's eyes softened. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. Grace scoffed. Oh please. Everyone is so dramatic today. Ethan said quietly, Grace, you need to stop. I'm the bride, she yelled. Everyone should be focusing on me. Sarah crossed her arms. Maybe they would, if you didn't attack your sister in hallways. More relatives had gathered now, murmuring. Someone whispered, why is she treating Lena like that? Another said, the poor girl looked fine. Grace's face crumbled. You're all turning against me. Ethan sighed. No one's against you. They're just seeing the truth. Grace shook her head, trembling with humiliation. I can't do this. She stormed past everyone and pushed through the exit, leaving her own reception. I heard someone whisper, she left? The bride left. Dad walked up slowly. What happened? Mom whispered, Grace left. Dad blinked, confused. Why? Aunt Sarah answered, because she couldn't control the narrative anymore. I stood there, frozen, feeling the weight lift off my chest. I whispered, I didn't want this. I just wanted peace. Zoe came beside me. Sometimes peace comes after explosions, she said softly. When I finally went home that night, I sat on my bed and let myself cry again, but it felt different. The tears weren't heavy or lonely. They felt like release. Like air. I'm not breaking, I whispered into the quiet. I'm reopening. For the first time ever, I wasn't living under Grace's shadow. I was stepping out of it. I was growing. And I wasn't going back.